Hey, welcome back to the world according to Briggs. My name is Briggs, and I want to be your twisted American tour guide. I was just in St. Louis for a couple days last month, and it hasn't changed in the year or so since I was there last. I did have perfect weather, so that was really great. What wasn't great was the Indian Uber driver that thought I was speaking another language because I talk so fast. He told me he thought he was gonna need an interpreter, but really I just needed to drink less coffee. He dropped me off at the Mission Taco Joint, which is a great place to eat in case you're in the neighborhood. And as I got out of the car, he said, "Don't drink any Red Bull or coffee in there. You might get deported like my friend VJ." Then he drove off. I still don't know what happened to VJ. Anyway, St. Louis is a city filled with interesting history and good people. You'll notice the quality of the people as soon as you step foot in this city. They are amazing. Most of St. Louis is a great place to visit, but like all major cities, it has some neighborhoods you need to avoid. Like a Somali prince that needs your help getting millions of dollars out of his country, all he needs is your bank account information so he can deposit $1 million in your account. No strings attached. And that's what today's list is all about. Neighborhoods you should avoid in St. Louis. All of these neighborhoods have good people. Probably 90% are decent, hardworking people. Then, like every place, you have that 10% that bring the rest down. One thing about this video I will tell you, because of copyright things and new restrictions YouTube has, all the pictures and all the videos might not be exact to the neighborhood in St. Louis, but they are videos of St. Louis. So let's take a look at my top 10 worst neighborhoods in St. Louis, Missouri. Number 10, Mark Twain. Yes, Mark Twain is a writer and it's also a neighborhood in St. Louis. The Mark Twain neighborhood is one of several communities that comprise northwest St. Louis. It is bound by a couple of cemeteries to the northeast, Interstate 70 to the south and southwest, and Emerson Avenue to the northwest. The overall crime rate in Mark Twain is 255% higher than the national average. Holy crap. Congratulations, Mark Twain residents. If the actual Mark Twain was still alive, he'd probably start using his birth name of Samuel Clemens so he wouldn't be associated with this neighborhood. The unemployment rate in Mark Twain is 155% higher than the national average. But if stealing people's stuff was considered a job, they'd be doing a lot better. Here's something in the news. A teen was shot at a block party on Tuesday, October 1st. That's amazing. These people don't even wait for the weekend to have a block party or shoot people. If you get anywhere near Mark Twain, like on the I-70, just don't get off there. Just keep going. Number 9, Wells Goodfellow. Southwest of Mark Twain, you have the neighborhood of Wells Goodfellow. If you drive through this place, it looks like someone's trying to recreate a bad neighborhood in Detroit, or it's a shooting location for the next version of The Walking Dead. Kind of looks like it could be either. This neighborhood is doing a little bit better than Mark Twain when it comes to crime, but they tank when it comes to people with jobs. The unemployment rate in Wells Goodfellow is 179% higher than the national average, and the income per capita is 49% lower than the national average. Now, when we do these neighborhoods, we call them by whatever the city calls them. Locals might not even know that the area has that name. Some may call this one just Wells or something like that. I mean, I grew up in a place I called South Redondo. Come to find out after living there for 20 years that it's actually called Clifton by the Sea. Never even heard of it before. But, so a lot of people will leave comments, Wells isn't even a real place. Just stop. The reason I use the proper name given by the city is in case viewers want to look it up later, so stop typing. But Wells Goodfellow is not a place you want to buy land, buy a car, buy a soda, or even slow your car down in. I doubt you'd be able to get a mortgage for a building in this neighborhood, or car insurance for a car if you live in this neighborhood. Call Geico, see what they'll do for you. Number 8, Fox Park. Fox Park is a little northwest of the Anheuser-Busch Brewery and has Interstate 44 on its northern border. This is not a place you want to live if you have school-age kids. Area Vibes gives Fox Park a big fat F, and F with an F, not a PH. Test scores for students that live in Fox Park are about 19% lower than the national average. This place doesn't look terribly run down like some of the other places in St. Louis. It has a few boarded up houses, but not a big deal. That might be something you want to consider as a security measure when you hear about the crime rate here. The overall crime rate in Fox Park is 169% higher than the national average. Now, in the news recently, the city decided it's going to step up and protect youth soccer games and the league after an unsettling incident happened over a weekend a couple weeks back. Parents told police that 4 men were drinking in the park with guns and they approached the soccer field. They had some assault weapons. In Fox Park, I don't even know what to say about that. You know, what's this country coming to when 4 friends can't get drunk in a park and take their assault weapons to a kid's soccer game? Come on. Number 7. Kingsway West. Not too far from Mark Twain and right next to Wells Goodfellow, you have the tiny neighborhood of Kingsway West, or what most people call it, the place I got robbed that time. If you feel like you have too much stuff, put it in your car, drive to Kingsway West, get out of your car, sneeze twice, get back in your car, drive home without all that extra stuff. The overall crime rate in Kingsway West is 218% higher than the national average. It's like they're in a competition with someone to be the worst. It's really weird. The unemployment rate here is 176% higher than the national average. Like I said, another thing, it's like they're competing against someone to be the worst. It's really strange. The only reason you need to go here is if you're on court-ordered community service, they tell you to go here, and you might want to just do the time. It's that nice of a neighborhood. Number 6, Visitation Park. Right off the bat, the neighborhood sounds like a place you go to visit loved ones who are doing time. Visitation Park, the neighborhood, is defined by Maple Avenue on the north, Delmar Boulevard on the south, Union Boulevard on the east, and Belt Avenue on the west. The neighborhood got its name from an all-girls Catholic academy that was at this location. The academy is still in operation at another location, but when they took it down, they decided to build a neighborhood. The unemployment rate here is 12%. That's alarming. That's 157% higher than the national average. There's only about 700 residents living here now. In the 1990s, there was about 1,500. This is sort of the norm for all of St. Louis these days. People have been flooding out of here for a couple decades now, and there's no sign of it slowing. And a lot of that has to do with the unemployment numbers throughout St. Louis. But here in Visitation Park, the crime levels are so high it'd make Batman cry. The crime rate is 248% higher than the national average here. Number 5, Soulard. Soulard is named after Antoine Soulard, who was the first to develop this land. Soulard was a surveyor for the Spanish government and a refugee from the French Revolution in the 1790s, and that would be the high point of this entry. Soulard is not the place any refugee should move to. Actually, nobody should move here. The unemployment rate is 23% lower than the national average, which is great. It's not terrible compared to others on this list. But here's what got them on the list. The overall crime rate in Soulard is 306% higher than the national average. In Soulard, you have a 1 in 9 chance of becoming the victim of a crime. That's a 1 in 9 chance. Every year. That's incredible. The best way to protect yourself in Soulard is probably by buying a bus ticket out of town. Maybe Denver. Denver sounds nice. Number 4, Benton Park is a neighborhood on the south side just west of the Soulard neighborhood. Benton Park wasn't always a neighborhood in St. Louis, at least not for the living. It used to be a cemetery, so you know this place has some bad juju going on. If you live here, your house could catch a poltergeist and your kid could get sucked into your TV. Happened once before. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that was the premise of the movie Poltergeist back in the 80s. And that movie freaked me out. Back then, everyone was saying that this was based on a true story, and when you're 10, that's some scary shit. Anyway, Benton Park is scary too. The overall crime rate in Benton Park is 195% higher than the national average. But the fun doesn't stop there. The unemployment rate is 134% higher than the national average, and Area Vibes gives their education system, pretty much all their schools, a big fat F. Well, really, most of St. Louis gets big fat Fs for their public schools. And before you comment, I'm sure there are some fine schools in St. Louis. If there is, they're few and far between, trust me. Number 3, Midtown. Midtown is located west of the city's riverfront at the intersections of Grand and Lindell Boulevards. One interesting fact about Midtown, this was the site of the only American Civil War battle in St. Louis. The Camp Jackson Affair, as it was known, took place on May 10, 1861, when the Union Army decided to fight with the civilians. So I guess what happens is the Union soldiers showed up and the Confederate soldiers surrendered. They were there to collect some weapons and all this, and so the Confederate Army decided they didn't want to fight. I guess this pissed off the locals, and they started fighting the Union. 28 people died, and actually the first officer for the Union Army was killed during this little fight with them. The crime rate in Midtown is about 279% higher than the national average. The income per capita in Midtown is about 38% lower than the national average, and the median household, like together, is about 51% lower than the national average. Midtown kinda sucks. Number 2, Penrose. This neighborhood is located on the north side of the city just south of Interstate 70 and west of O'Fallon Park. The good news about Penrose is the cost of living is extremely low. Rent is at a point where some landlords feel guilty charging you anything. It's almost worth it to let you live there for free so the squatters and homeless don't move in. The overall crime rate in Penrose is a whopping 340% higher than the national average. Way to go, Penrose. What is the deal here? Are they teaching these kids how to be adults by playing Grand Theft Auto? What's really strange about this place is the employment is decent. The residents have jobs. Normally, you don't see that high a crime rate when people have jobs to go to. Strange. And number 1, Fountain Park. And it is official, Fountain Park is not suitable for humans, sort of like Mars. Fountain Park is a small neighborhood that had 2,500 residents back in the 1990s. Today, it sits around 1,200. Half the people have left. Now, why is this place number 1? I sort of forgot. Why was it? Oh yeah, now I remember. The crime rate. The crime rate in Fountain Park is 360% higher than the national average. You have a 1 in 7 chance of being the victim of any crime every year you live in Fountain Park. And you have a 1 in 9 chance of that being a violent crime. Let me make that a little more clear. If you look at the Brady Bunch house and the people that live there, Jan will be mugged this year. And the chances are high that that person who mugged Jan is unemployed because the unemployment rate in Fountain Park is 258% higher than the national average. Staggering numbers in Fountain Park. Fountain Park is the worst place to live in St. Louis. Alright, so that is my top 10 worst neighborhoods in St. Louis, Missouri. Hope you guys got some information out of it. Hope it was entertaining. It's kind of alarming, this one. There's some scary numbers we talked about tonight. Anyway, don't forget all the links below. Hit that big thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.